Today's book is Peter's Chair by Ezra Jack Keats. Peter stretched as high as he could. There, his tall building was finished. Crash! Down it came. Shh! Called his mother. You'll have to play more quietly. Remember, we have a new baby in the house. Peter looked into his sister Susie's room. His mother was fussing around the cradle. That's my cradle, he thought, and they painted it pink.
Girls,
Hi,
I love
Peter,
how tight
said his father.
carpet.
Would you like to help paint sister's high chair? It's my high chair, whispered Peter. He saw his crib and muttered, my crib was painted pink too. Not far away stood his old chair. They didn't paint that yet, Peter shouted. He picked it up and ran to his room. Let's run away, Willie, he said. Peter filled a shopping bag with cookies and dog biscuits. We'll take my blue chair, my toy crocodile, and the picture of me when I was a baby. Willie got his bone. They went outside and stood in front of his house. This is a good place, said Peter. He arranged his things very nicely and decided to sit in his chair for a while. But he couldn't fit in the chair. He was too big. His mother came to the window and called, Won't you come back to us, Peter dear? We have something very special for lunch. Peter and Willie made believe they didn't hear, but Peter got an idea. Soon his mother saw signs that Peter was home. That rascal is hiding behind the curtain, she said happily. She moved the curtain away, but he wasn't there. Here I am, shouted Peter. Peter sat in a grown-up chair. His father sat next to him. Daddy, said Peter, let's paint the little chair pink for Susie. And they did. And that was Peter's chair.
Okay, writers, we're going to use this as a mentor text today. Yesterday, we started talking about revisions, and we started talking about how once you're done, once you think you're done, you've really just begun. So we have a lot of revisions that we're going to be making today. So today I want to teach you that when we write a story, when we read a story, there's a typical way that these stories tend to go. And we actually touched on this in our reading workshop last week as well. Thank you. 10 minutes. We'll see if I can stop it at 1 then. So, in a typical story, whether you're the reader or you're the author, if any of this looks familiar, I want to see a thumbs up as we're going through. You're going to have some main characters that are introduced, and I see some thumbs coming up because we've heard this before. These main characters may have a motivation, they'll have a hope, a want, maybe something they need. And then these main characters are going to hit a problem, and I see some thumbs up with like big nodding, and yeah, definitely. These problems, it could be trouble, it could be tension. I see some more people thumbs up and nodding. There could be an emotional response from the character. And then things are going to happen that relate to that problem. Some of us might be thinking of Peter's chair that we just listened to already. Things will happen, like it gets bigger, or maybe another problem emerges. The tension increases for the character. We can see our cartoon there. He's super frustrated because our tension is increasing. And then sometimes the character might try to solve the problem. He'll make an attempt. Finally, at the end, we have a resolution. I see some more thumbs up and nodding because we may have heard this before. The problem is solved. In reading workshop, we called this Story Mountain. So whether you're the reader or the author, most stories tend to follow a story mountain, even your personal narratives. So Peter's chair is actually pretty similar to your personal narratives. Definitely more complex, right? More complex, but this is a really good example of how a story tends to go. So I want to think aloud right now how I'm fitting Peter's chair into Story Mountain. So I was looking through the book and I was thinking of my story mountain, and what I was thinking right at the beginning, we notice on like this opening page, it says Peter stretched as high as he could. There, his building was finished. Right from the start, there's something that Peter wants. He wants to build a tower. So I'm thinking of my story mountain. My opening, I wrote it down. Peter wants something. He wants to build a tower. So I already see how that's fitting my story mountain. As we get going through the book, it falls down. His mom's really not paying attention. She doesn't really care that Peter's tower fell because she's paying attention to the new baby sister. So now there's some tension building. He's probably getting frustrated, I'm assuming. And then he looks into the baby's room, and now, to make things even worse, his cradle is painted pink. Hands down for now. So now he's even more frustrated because all of his things are disappearing. There's no attention put on him at all. So I started thinking about my story mountain. I'm like, wow, the tension's building. The tower fell. The cradle's pink. Something big is going to happen. So as we kept reading, as we listened to the story, all of a sudden, those high chair's pink, everything's pink. All of a sudden, he's so mad. His chair's not pink, you're right. He's so mad. The problem is so bad that he feels like he wants to run away with his chair. So it's so bad that this is the feeling that he has. So I'm like, whoa, that is the explosion at the top of our mountain. You know what else I thought? I put a heart around this because I was thinking about the story, and I remembered yesterday we talked about the heart of the story and what the story is really about. And I didn't think it was just about building a tower, because that's really just a little activity. But I thought, well, Peter's really frustrated. And he's so frustrated that he wanted to run away. So I felt like maybe they were trying to bring out that emotion, and that might be the heart of our story. So then at the end, Dad had a great idea, or Peter had a great idea. He said, let's paint the chair pink for Susie, for our baby sister. So things start to resolve towards the end of the story. Your stories are going to have that same pattern. So is the exemplar story that we looked at the other day. When I say go, if you have it, please take out Goosebumps. If you do not have it, I have some extras. But you have and you can put your hand up for that. Take 15 seconds to get it out, please. Go ahead. Hand up if you need it. Whether you were absent or who knows what. I'll take care of it. Okay, we'll have the paper out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as I'm talking, I need a super responsible helper, super responsible, who is going to pass these out without distracting the class. This is a huge task. Mercedes, give it a try. I could have picked any of you. I really could have. I know we're all super responsible right here. So our job is to stay up here. Let's refresh Goosebumps here. As we are reading, I'd like you to think about our story mountain. Is there anything from here that could fit? And I love how I already see eyes on Goosebumps. Let's give this another read. So this is our 5th grade exemplar personal narrative. But Goosebumps. I held up my knee-length nightgown. My mom held up my fleece, ankle-length PJs. Why should I wear these, I said. I wondered why she wanted me to wear fleece on a warm summer night in Montana. It gets very cold in the night, my mom said, with a serious look on. I gave her a look. She looked right back at me. For a moment there was silence. Then she let out a long sigh. I could tell that I had won because she was putting away the PJs. As I slid on my nightgown, I could feel my mom hurting me to my bed. I stopped and climbed in. I pulled up my light sheets. My mom opened her mouth and said, "Put your wool cover over you. I'm serious." I gave her a look. She let out a sigh. She hugged me and whispered in my ear, "Good night." I woke up with a tingle. I sat up in my bed. I looked at the clock. Only 10 minutes went by. I looked at my arms. They were covered in goosebumps. So were my legs. It felt like it had dropped 30 degrees. I bent down and grabbed the wool blanket and pulled it over me with a sigh of relief. As I got comfy, my mind soared. I thought about all the times my mom had been right. Like the time I didn't wear rain boots when my mom told me and got cold, then the time my mom told me to put on sunblock. I didn't and got a really bad sunburn. But out of all my thoughts, I wondered why I acted like that. Was I cranky or mad? But before I could think, my eyes got heavy and started to close. Before I knew it, everything was black and then gone. When I say go, I'd like you to turn and talk. We don't have pencils because that wasn't a carpet material today, so we're not going to write. Try to talk through Story Mountain. See if you can pick out 1, 2, or 3 pieces where this fits to Story Mountain. Turn and talk. I love how you like actually first talking to partner. Like 30 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Match me. Match me. Match me. Match me. Match me. Match me. I had a great conversation with Anna and Zach where we were talking about the climax of the story and we connected it to the heart of the story, a possible heart. Thank you. They had mentioned the part at the end, or towards the middle to the end, where our author was talking about how she needs to listen to her mom more. All of this had built up to a point where she's not listening to her mom, and she's wondering why she does that. So they were wondering if that might be our climax. And you may have found some points of Story Mountain as well. Today and every day while you're writing, I'd like you to think about how your writing fits into Story Mountain. In fact, you are going to take this Story Mountain with you. See if you can write down 1, 2, 3, or maybe even 4 pieces where your story fits, and then continue writing fast and furious. How about that? I'm going to count 1, 2, 3.